The room, actually, it was a storeroom, and as a kid, I remember coming in here to hang out and get mangoes and fruit.
On the lips of my mind are the prayers of a child.
My concern was, again, it was about sound and control, and how we're going to control the sound and the acoustics in here, because there's going to be so much of bleed going into mics, and what's going to happen.
After I heard the tracks, I pretty much figured out this is going to be one of those zones where we are going to be very, very low tech, but very correctly low tech. It could not have been any other way.
The first challenge in this room is that it's not a thoroughly soundproof room, whereas in the windows are open, so we're constantly battling environment sounds, nature sounds, a car moving in the back. That's pretty much how difficult it was to get things done in the room. But once it's locked down and we start recording, the room has a great sound. I mean, it's got a character of its own.
I don't know what it's called in English, but non-bomb.
Heavy heart and weathered brow, I believe I'm on my own again. December is back to haunt my soul, counting days till I grow old. Instead,
I enjoyed the songs a lot. I thought it was very well recorded. I was really impressed by how authentic it was to the style of music that Vince has been influenced by, with American roots music. I enjoyed, listening to the lyric and the narrative of what Vince did, and of course, it's always fun to be able just to sort of get your hands around whatever the instruments are and be able to sort of sculpt the sound.
between the losing and the gain.
When Vince first called me, he said he was calling from India. And we have clients from all over the world, so that wasn't really a shocker that I was talking to somebody overseas. And then he said it was an Americana record. I was like, oh, okay. Typically, if somebody says we're doing an Americana record, I'm thinking probably a little bit more current, just, electric guitars, bass and drums, maybe some harmonica, something like that. But when I heard the record with horns playing and the strings and all the sort of variations, it wasn't just sort of the Americana that's like right now. It was like I heard the band, and I heard old Arlo Guthrie, and I heard sort of even as far back as like the 70s, sort of before it was actually called Americana, when it was more sort of electric folk. So there was a real cool, like a surprise there to me. I was, wow, that's like a guy who really did his homework.
There's so many dollar bills to ease your pain and buy you pills. What you gonna do when they all run out?
When I just did a first initial listen through, I said, yeah, I kind of understood what he was going for. Sort of a warm, almost a vinyl sound, sort of a throwback to a 70s sound. At least that's what I got out of it when I heard it.
I guess maybe I sort of was curious early on as to what his, what sort of sonic feedback I was going to get. Should it be bigger, tighter, drier, wetter, dirtier, all those things that sort of I think about when I'm working on a mix. So I think the feedback sometimes, because, he was, in India and I'm here, meant that there was a few days in between doing the work and then hearing back and doing the recalls. So I would say that was the primary obstacle.
It's hard work, it's late nights, lack of sleep, ideate, think, rewrite, write, rewrite.
Emily, hold on to me, I say. We will get this time of rain. Emily, hold on to me, I pray. I will save you from the pain.
I kept this as was a pretty dry mix, meaning there wasn't a lot of echo chamber or delays and reverbs, but I was concerned about making sure that there was proper depth of field and that it was interesting from part to part, and made sure that it wasn't a monolithic sort of feeling. I didn't want the listener to get presume where we were going to be by the time we got to different parts of the song. So I would say, as much as anything, the main technique was just listening to the songs over and over and trying to figure out how to support the narrative.
Typically what I'll do is I'll take the first song on the record and I'll experiment a little bit. I'll run it through certain pieces of equipment just to see how they color the sound. And in Vince's case, I found that using some tube equipment, running it and adding a little bit of a tube sound to it, sort of warmed it up a little bit. And I didn't overdo it. I didn't hype it up with a lot of equalization and compression. I tried to just bring out what was there and make it stand up enough so it'll when you put it on an iPod, it'll sound good next to another set of songs. But yeah, I kind of tried to keep it old school.
One chance before me now to prove I'm worthy of your love. Hold on tight, let me pedal on, my dear, and I'll get you to the other side, I swear.
When you mix as many songs as I'm privileged to mix, you tend to reach for the same tools, compression and delays and reverbs and equalization, and but I would say that the main technique that I would use on any mix is dynamic, and that's with just listening and figuring out the storyboard of a mix, where things should be most impactful, intimate. For me, doing a mix is a lot like sort of editing a movie. So sometimes things work better when they're further away, and sometimes things work better when they're more intimate.
Typically when I actually work on the record, I'm not really in enjoyment like listening mode. I'm in like a real technical mode of correcting things or bringing out, enhancing things. It's not usually until after I'm all done and then I listen down to it, after it's all done, that I sort of listen with those ears. I was doing something, working in my garden, and all of a sudden I'm hearing this melody in my head, and I started humming along, and it was Think Now, and I thought, where's that song coming from? Oh, that's Vince's record. It's stuck in my head.
Whenever a project is done, I always want the artist to have as much success as they possibly can have, because I feel like that Vince in this case deserves that, and it would also afford us an opportunity maybe to actually get to meet one another in person and collaborate on some future music. So that would be a great outcome.
I know it's gold, rolling mountains, shadow lines, and jagged edge.
While it is a big thrill to work on, Dolly Parton or Robert Plant or something like that, it's amazing, of course. I actually really do enjoy working with artists that aren't famous yet, that are making, their heart and soul, pouring their heart and soul into their own record from wherever, whether it's from India or Oklahoma for that matter. It doesn't really matter. And sort of getting their mixes, and then once I master it, returning it to them and sort of seeing how much they enjoy, like how much that we've brought the music to the next level. It's a big thrill. I really like that. I sort of like working with the underdogs a lot.
I don't know why.
And more importantly, when the recording gets over, everyone's got to go and eat a plate of admas, man. And you're back in the studio the next day raring to go. So that pretty much sums it up.